Mayo Clinic Rochester Department of Nursing and Mayo Clinic organization itself. I am a nursing placement coordinator on the Rochester campus, and I'm just going to be here to kind of monitor the Q&A in the background. If you have questions, go ahead and throw your questions in the Q&A, and I will do the best I can to moderate that. At this time, I want to turn it over to our professional governance team and three amazing RNs here. I'll let you start, Tina. Take it from here, and I'll be here if you need me.
Yeah, awesome. Well, Tina is sharing our slides, but I will start us off with our presentation. So thank you all for being here. We are really excited to talk about professional governance here at Mayo Clinic. We are your presenters, and we are here because we are the co-chairs of our departmental level professional governance council at our Rochester clinic. So my name is Hannah Hugstead. Besides being a co-chair, I work on a heart and lung transplant progressive care unit. Tina Oyen is my fellow co-chair, and besides being my co-chair, she works in primary care triage, answering phone calls throughout the entire enterprise here at Mayo Clinic. And then we have Danny, who is our vice chair for our professional governance council, who works in surgical services, particularly, I believe, trauma and urology. So thank you everyone for being here. That's a little background about us, and I will get us kicked off today. You can go to the next slide. So today, what we are really going to focus on is professional governance, how it's lived out at Mayo Clinic, and the different career opportunities and professional support you may have if you choose to join our team. So next slide. Many people think of professional governance as shared governance, focusing on councils and committee work that nurses do with their time away from patient care. However, at Mayo Clinic, we have a professional governance model that is structured into operations of the Department of Nursing. With professional governance, the focus of decision-making shifts to the practice expert, or us, the nurses, being the drivers of the decisions that are made. This is so that those who are performing the practice are the ones creating it and therefore accountable to our outcomes. Nursing is not a job that completes tasks. Instead, it is a profession that fulfills a purpose. Professionals are members of a community of practice who fulfill their social mandate. The outcome of our work is not measured in the tasks that are completed during a shift. Instead, it is measured in the impact that we make. And this is why we should be accountable to and have ownership over the decisions that we make for our profession. And we just lost our shared screen from my end. So professional governance is how nurses use their voice and how we are committed to drive towards excellence. So as Tina pulls that up, I'm just going to keep talking because I have my slides off to on my screen here too. So our next slide, we're going to talk about how professional governance is defined at Mayo Clinic. This is slide 5, Tina, whenever you get it back up. We have shared governance as our foundation, but we take it a step further. Perfect, beautiful. We take it a step further to give true ownership of our outcomes to the nurses. So decisions are made by the frontline nurses that are embedded into the action, processes, mechanisms, and deliberations through what we do. This allows nurses to work to the top of their licensures so that we have control over our practice, competency, quality, and knowledge. Next slide. Here to give a brief overview, these are the core principles of professional governance. The partnership between the staff nurse leaders and the administrative nurse leaders and the providers is essential for a functioning professional governance models. Equity is another core principle, and this does not mean equality in scope. It means that equal respect for your expertise and what position you hold. Accountability, which I refer to a lot, is central as we talk about nurses are accountable for the outcomes of their work. And then ownership is similar to accountability. All nurses should take ownership over their practice and are committed to being engaged in the success of nursing as a whole. Next slide. So, professional, if you go back, it's the circle slide that I'm on. Professional governance plays a critical role in empowering nurses, enhancing their professional growth and improving quality. And these are some core elements of what professional governance truly is. So again, I have that circle to my left. So on the top, it talks about autonomy and decision making. Nurses are granted the authority to make clinical decisions and take part in developing policies and procedures related to patient care and nursing practice. Shared decision making, which is a foundation that we have, involves collaboration and shared decision making among our nurses, nurse leaders, and other healthcare professions. Professional development is another aspect. And these are the opportunities that we, through our professional governance models, supply for continuous learning, education, skills development that enhance our nursing practice. Quality improvement, a key buzzword in nursing. Nurses are actively engaged in quality improvement initiatives, ensuring that evidence-based practice and high standards of care are implemented. Advocacy for nurses and patients. The system supports nurses and being an advocate of their own professional needs and of their patients' needs. Communication and feedback. So channels are open for bi-directional communication and ensuring that feedback is given between the bedside or the frontline staff nurses and our administrative nurse leaders. And this is established. And we are promoting transparency and accountability in our communication. And then integration with research. So the nursing professional governance encourage that research is integrated into our clinical practice so that we are improving our patient outcomes. So that was a brief overview of mine, and I'll turn it over to one of my colleagues.
Thank you, Hannah, for that great introduction and overview into professional governance. I'm going to continue to share more about what professional governance looks like in everyday nursing practice. It starts with engaging as a professional, taking ownership of our role, standards, and impact on patients. Governance is strengthened through collaboration within and beyond our units by partnering with leadership to improve patient care and our work environment. When nurses have questions or ideas, councils provide the pathway to move those ideas forward and create meaningful change. The professional governance also encourages innovation using evidence in practice and measuring how our work affects patient outcomes. Most importantly, it challenges us to think beyond our own unit and consider our impact on the organization, the profession, and the communities we serve. We'll go to the next slide, Tina. Professional governance councils provide a platform for nurses to collaborate on nursing practice, skills, quality, and knowledge assessment. This work begins at the unit level, where each area has a council and frontline staff have a direct voice in shaping practice and priorities. Unit representatives then carry that voice to the division level, and division representatives elevate the shared priorities to the department level. Communication also flows in the opposite direction, with updates, priorities, and decisions shared from the department back down or over to the division and then to the unit. Operationalizing professional governance councils at different levels enables effective bidirectional communication between frontline staff and department leadership. We'll go to the next slide. A key part of professional governance is bringing forward questions and ideas. Using councils, committees, or work groups to turn ideas into action, these structures help innovation gain traction and ensure that frontline voices shape improvement efforts. However, professional governance in practice is a lot more than just councils, committees, and work groups. It comes to life through the many ways nurses influence practice, by developing others, improving systems of care, shaping standards, and working collaboratively to drive meaningful change. Ultimately, professional governance is about participation and impact. Whether involvement is large or small, every contribution matters. We can go. Thank you. Nurses are accountable for safe, high-quality care, evidence-based practice, and accurate documentation and team communication. Nurse leaders promote positive environments, support professional growth, and implement strategies to improve outcomes. Clear accountability boosts collaboration, transparency, and safe, effective care delivery. Direct care nurses have a voice in decision-making at every level and own their practice expertise. Professional governance means shared decisions happen at the right time with leaders and staff as collaborative partners. Teams thrive in psychologically safe environments, learn from failures, and pursue excellence together. And with that, I will hand it over to Tina.
All right, and I want to apologize to Hannah with all my glitches trying to run this. Hopefully we have it down so I don't do that to you guys now. So yes, I am going to talk to you about nursing excellence and relating it to Magnet. So professional governance councils partner closely with Magnet, integrating its pillars into our purpose and practice. So Mayo Clinic is committed to nursing excellence through education, research, and outstanding patient care and innovation. The Mayo Clinic Department of Nursing is one of the largest and most respected groups of nurses in the world. Mayo Clinic in Arizona, Florida, and Minnesota, as well as Mayo Clinic Health System in Northwest Wisconsin, have also been awarded Magnet designation from the American Nurses Credentialing Center. And also Rochester in 2025, we actually celebrated our 7th designation as a Magnet, which is pretty awesome. All right, here is the Mayo Nursing Council in partnership with the Nursing Excellent Magnet Oversight Council. We host a yearly poster fair and year-end celebration to showcase the outstanding work of Mayo Clinic nurses and their teams, highlighting innovation, collaboration, and nursing excellence across the organization. So this is actually a poster with our recent poster fair where you submitted the abstracts and they could come forth and share all the amazing work that is being done. All right. So why is professional governance really that important? Because strong support from nursing administration is essential to the success of nursing councils. So over time, meaningful partnerships have been built through close alignments between council priorities and the organizational strategic plan. So positioning the clinical nurse as a key driver of change. Equally as important is protected time for those nurses to develop, implement, and refine initiatives, an investment made possible through strong collaboration with nursing leadership. So together, these elements foster a robust culture of professional governance that leads to a higher nurse satisfaction, stronger retention, and improved patient outcomes. At Mayo Clinic, nurses are supported, engaged, and empowered to lead, creating an environment where nurses choose to work, stay, and grow. And so with this, we really want to increase the decision-making competence and confidence. So as part of our staff nurses, our staff nurse leaders. So really we need to ensure, and this is Tim Porter O'Grady, who's like the father creator of professional governance, states we need to ensure that the structure we build affords 90% of the decisions are in the hands of those who practice. So as that frontline staff or those staff that are dealing with this practice every day, you are the subject matter expert. So making sure the right decision is done by the right person, right place, right time, right purpose. And with that, we can talk about how we really stay connected and follow Mayo Clinic on social media. And Steph may even have more insights on this as well, if there's anything special she wants to share, or Stephanie.
You're doing great, Tina. Keep it going. And you can call me Steph. That's what everybody calls me. So you're good.
I know Steph or outside of Mayo, so that's why I came. I'm like, oh yes. So yes, so you can follow us on Instagram, TikTok, LinkedIn, Facebook. I know Hannah and I are both on LinkedIn. So, and then there's a couple other Mayo Nursing Council, like Juan Gazares Gonzalez, very popular on Instagram and LinkedIn. He's posting stuff all the time. So there's different things. And then really what we want to know is if you guys have any questions or anything we can help with or answer for all of you. So I'm going to stop sharing my screen, maybe, if I can figure out how to do this. And then we can all talk.
I have no questions in Q&A yet. So if anyone's writing questions, I'm not seeing them. I apologize again for the technical difficulties, but I want to shout out to you three ladies for handling it with grace. This is real life and we are nurses. So, hey, we just make the best of it, right? Thank you, Robin. Robin, you asked a question in the chat earlier When and where did all of this take place? I feel as soon as I went from the hospital to everywhere else, like nursing homes, agency, hospice, home health, within Illinois and Missouri, I lost most to all of my strong, respectable peers. When you say when and where did all of this take place, are you referring to the poster fair that we saw a picture of, or are you referring to professional governance? Is this a nursing council program?
I can speak to maybe with Robin. I think they posted that when Tina was talking about the poster fair. So as I can speak more to the poster fair if there's interest there. We encourage and expect our professional governance councils to be working on projects based in evidence, projects based in the data, using empirical outcomes to drive their work. And due to that, we also want to share and celebrate the hard work that is happening. So each year at the beginning of the year in January, we ask our councils to determine their goals. What is going to be their main focus for the year? What is going to be their QI project that they will work on? And then our poster fair, they can submit for that in October to present on their posters and projects in November and April. And I think we do this because we want to share, collaborate, and hear all the great work that is happening around Mayo Clinic, but also by having them submit an abstract to a poster fair that's internal, allows nurses to get the experience and then use that abstract to submit and go to external conferences. And so I think it's a really great avenue, learning opportunity, prepares people, and we're able to share that work externally. Personally, I've been to, I just came back from a conference where I was sharing a poster of work that we did, and I know Danny and Tina are going to one. And so that is something personally as a nurse at Mayo Clinic. It's exciting that I'm able to share that work and be recognized because I do put in a lot of hours outside of patient care. So
Couple questions in the Q&A. One asks a question. What insights would you impart to your younger self if you could revisit the inception of your nursing career? How might professional governance have influenced that period of your career? Who wants to take that one?
I'm happy to get us started since I don't see my colleagues coming off mute. I think that professional governance was part of the inception of my nursing career. We have a unit-based coordinating council, and that is where I first got involved. I find that being a part of professional governance really helped with my burnout. I started during 2020, during the pandemic, when I think we all agree that nursing was maybe at one of its hardest times. And there was a lot of problems, a lot of issues that I was experiencing. And I found that professional governance allowed for an avenue for me to use my voice and to drive the changes on my unit to be changes that were helpful, changes that we wanted to see, rather than talking to my fellow coworkers and just being mad about it and going home and sitting and thinking about it. I had a place, I had an avenue, and I had a voice. And I do think our structure at Mayo Clinic has a strong structure in professional governance. And so I encourage all the new nurses that I precept and mentor to learn more about our coordinating council, get involved, jump in, because I think it is really impactful at the beginning of your career to go. I started because I didn't want to read the emails that were coming from my manager or coming from our unit-based coordinating council. It was too overwhelming. So I was like, well, I'll just go to the meeting and I'll hear it and I won't have to read the emails. But then being a part of it has changed my life and my career direction. And here I am as the departmental level chair. Thank you, Juan, for such a great question.
Yes, and everyone's story is a little bit different. So I've been at Mayo now for almost 23 years. That makes me sound very old. Oof, am I? And I started by actually on orientation, my preceptor was part of a practice committee. So I had attended that with her, and I thought it was so interesting. And I loved how the nurses truly have a voice on, hey, this is what's happening in practice. What can we do to improve? What can we change? And they use that professional governance standard to really make sure that those people that were doing that practice or that were experiencing were those subject matter experts that were doing those changes. And that combined, so through the years, I've been chair of pretty much every council that you could be on my inpatient medical unit. And then at that point, I also went and was able to be president of a national nursing organization. So I got to do that. And then you can also build, and I've done a enterprise level committee as well that I became chair of. So there's so many different things with professional governance you can do to really take on what you want, your professional practice, your ownership, your identity. And I truly love getting to help and guide other people to see what they can do and how they can grow and how to make nursing better and everything. So getting to be part of co-chair for Mayo Nursing Council is like the ultimate goal because I get to do my patient care, but I also get to help be that leader and support and provide those resources. So many amazing things you can do.
Yeah. And my personal experience, I would say that I am still in the very beginning of my nursing career. I just hit my 3-year milestone with Mayo and have been involved in professional governance. I think I got involved about 7 months into being here at Mayo. I learned about it at nurse residency and wanted to, find out more about it for my unit. My unit kind of didn't have an operating coordinating council since COVID. And so I helped get that back up and running and just kind of jumped right in. There's been many times that it's been overwhelming, but seeing the changes that happen is really rewarding.
So we have a question in the chat. Can we explain, is this a council program for nurses or a program to make them feel heard? So as the ladies explained, this is something, and Danny, you said it really nicely, this is something that we talk about almost from day one when you start your career at Mayo Clinic. It's getting involved and being the change that you want to see and, joining committees. So at Mayo Clinic, on the Rochester campus, there's more than 60 to 70 different work units that you can work in as a nurse. Almost each work unit has their own committee structure, and the professional governance is kind of the overarching guidance for each of those unit councils. So nurses have a voice at Mayo. Nurses are leading change at Mayo. We are side by side with our leaders when big decisions are made, and we are our professional governance, they come to this group of people and they say, here's a proposed change. What do you think? So it really is a really unique way to get involved. I would say, Danny, you did it right, getting involved from the get-go. Most of us who got involved a little bit later in our careers probably wish we had done it sooner. So the student who mentioned in the Q&A, as a nursing student, how should I use professional governance during my ongoing training? Get involved with anything you can. It is so much more empowering to find change than it is to share it, or complain about it. It's so much easier to complain about it. But when you're part of the solution, it's really empowering.
And even when you are, oh, sorry, Hannah, when you are in your clinicals and your rotations and whatnot, seeing how decisions are being made, seeing who's impacting that, what's happening, and that's even when you're applying for positions or whatnot. Hospitals, like, is this somewhere where I want to work? Is my voice gonna be heard? Not saying that every single thing that is brought forth is gonna be, yes, let's do that, because that's just not how it works. But being having that psychologically safe place to bring forth your ideas is what we really strive to have here at Mayo.
Yeah, said beautifully. I think just as a nursing student, asking the nurses that you're paired with about professional governance and how they're involved, and great questions to ask in your interview. I know it's always important to have questions to ask back. So that's a question that you could have, is how is professional governance lived out? I answered a question about us specifically. I typed it out to an anonymous individual who asked about collaborating with other Mayo Clinic location sites. We are Mayo Clinic RST Rochester, but each of our Mayo Clinic sites do have a professional governance council, and we do collaborate with them.
Question in the chat: do we have to be part of Mayo Clinic to be? Do we have to be employed at Mayo Clinic to be part of professional governance? You do have to be part of Mayo Clinic to be part of the Mayo Clinic professional governance. But if this doesn't exist in your facility, I would say make it happen. This is the best way for nurses' voices to be heard and to be part of the solution. I think any of us on this webinar would be more than happy to share our experiences with you. I would say if it isn't happening, make it happen. There was also a question about nurse residency. It sounds interesting. What does this look like at Mayo Clinic? Is this something different than council work? It is. The residency is much different than working within the unit councils at the departmental level. Do one of you ladies want to talk about nurse residency, since you're closer to it than I am, or I can share my canned
I can kind
explanation.
of talk about my experience with it. Nurse residency, it's set up here at Mayo for new nurses. So you learn a little bit about Mayo Clinic, and our pillars are, the way that we do nursing practice here, not even with professional governance involved. And then also you learn about you continue to learn how to be a nurse, how to do all the things that you are expected to do during your time here at Mayo. It helps you work on communication skills and that sort of practice that you want in your people relations. And then council work isn't necessarily completely mutually exclusive of with the activities with nurse residency, but it focuses a lot on the ongoing things of your unit or division and how you can improve that. So it's, teaching at nurse residency or learning is part of professional governance, but it's not the same as the council work that we do. And Hannah or Tina might be able to add to that a little bit.
I think you answered everything very well with that. Honestly, fantastic. And it looks like one of the next questions is, how do we all balance working with patients and still being involved with professional governance? So I'm not going to lie, a lot of times when you are part of professional governance, you may go above and beyond your standard hours and whatnot, but we are very blessed here at Mayo Clinic in Rochester, where our leadership does truly support us in growing and being those professional leaders. So for us, we are granted time to work as Mayo Nursing Council co-chairs or vice chair, which is a wonderful addition that's been in the last couple years. So that's just, we're blessed. Honestly, a lot of it is, what do you want to do? Because when I was president and president-elect of a national nursing organization for our region, that was outside of work hours, trying to grow myself as a nurse to be the best leader, the best resource, and whatnot. So there's different things that you can do that makes you be who you want to be. And Hannah and Danny, maybe you guys have more to add to this as well.
No, I just think it varies throughout the department of what is allowed within your FTE for putting time into professional governance, or what is done above. But I do think that professional governance is valued by most of our staff or our administrative leaders, so nurse managers, and they're able to work because they do see the value of having that dedicated time. And so we're able to manage the meetings and work with our schedulers to be able to get that in. So
Speaking of nurse managers,
Yeah.
Hannah, the next question says, does professional governance mean that nurses don't need nurse managers?
Oh, no, no, no. So that's a great question. And nurse managers, nurse administrators, which is um, like kind of the next level, a higher level of nurse leaders that lead a larger group of units, and our CNO, all of our administrative nurse leaders are very important in professional governance. And so to take a step back, when I say nurse leader, I'm referring to like a staff nurse leader. I am a staff nurse leader. I'm a bedside nurse, but I am a leader within our professional governance structure model. I'm a leader at the bedside. I'm a team lead. When I say administrative nurse leader, that would be like my manager co-partner or my nurse administrator co-partner or my CNO co-partner. And our structure here at RST Rochester, we have unit-based councils. So specifically for your unit that you work on, we have division-based councils. These are like units, so similar units that all come together and meet as a group. And then we have our departmental level council, which is what we lead, Danny, Tina, and I. At each level, we partner with our administrative nurse leaders to be able to run, and the partnership is very important. Our staff nurse leaders are the ones that are leading the professional governance councils at all those levels, but we need the administrative nurse leaders to bring forward the operational side of the hospital, to bring forward their expertise. As I said in the presentation, one of the core principles of professional governance is equity and our partnerships. And so that means that we see each individual role for what they bring, who they are, and what their expertise is, and they are equal and welcome at the table. So my nurse manager, when I was the unit-based co-chair, I led in partnership with her our unit-based coordinating council, if that's helpful. So they play a key role and they're much needed, and they lean into and dive into our professional governance structure because they see that that's how they get their staff nurse engagement. Great question.
Very, very nicely said, Hannah. Very nicely said. It's always a partnership. And I like how you say you're co-partner with your manager. And that's truly what it is. It's wonderful. The next question is, you said something about magnet. What does this mean? Should I be looking for this when I look for a job as a nurse? I'm going to pass this off to Tina.
All right. So yes, magnet is a wonderful thing. So what it is, it's accreditation from the Magnet Foundation that comes and they review 1 million documents and make sure that the frontline staff are really the leading force, working with your leadership teams and your CNO to work together to make sure that practices are being impacted and we're following the magnet pillars. Let me just pull up one of my quick resources here so I don't tell you something incorrectly. So like with us right now for Mayo Nursing Council, we are partnered closely with Magnet. We actually work with them a lot on our agendas and whatnot. Let's give me 1 second. Sorry, guys. All right. So pretty much the important things, Magnet Recognition Program, what it does is really elevates patient care around the world in an environment where nurses in collaboration with the interprofessional team flourish by setting the standards for excellence through leadership, scientific discovery, and dissemination and implementation of new knowledge. So with Mayo Clinic Rochester, like I said, we have 7 designations, which is pretty impressive, and they'll get to walk across the stage this September when they have the Magnet Conference. I believe it's in Chicago this year. But breaking it down, it's really having that structural empowerment, like the professional governance standard that we've been talking about this whole time, talking about the new knowledge and innovations and improvements, how we do that, the exemplary professional practice, and then transformational leadership. These are all pillars, and if you do have magnet designation at the facility or the hospital you're looking at, it is a great thing because it does show that nurses really want to work there. The magnet kind of is like, you would think like a magnet pulls you in because the nurses and their voices are well thought of and heard. Hannah and Danny, do you want to add anything to that, or Steph?
I would love to just say that magnet designation is one of the highest honors that a Department of Nursing can achieve. I hold me accountable for this, ladies, but to be recertified 7 times, only 2% of any nursing organization has achieved that. And the amount of time and energy and the standards that we have to uphold to become magnet designated is pretty awesome. So it's something that we're very proud of. I hire nurses for Mayo Clinic, and I would tell you, without a doubt, as you search, you should be searching for magnet hospitals. Absolutely something that should be top on your list. It would be for me, for sure. Any other questions? They're great questions. Where do I apply? So you can apply if you just go to any phone, any laptop, and just type in jobs at Mayo Clinic. It'll take you to our careers page, and the available positions will all be outlined there. There's a careers page for nursing specifically for new grads or experienced nurses. Definitely look into it. And of course, the careers page serves all of our Mayo campuses, not just the Rochester campus. We all represent the Rochester campus, but our careers page will absolutely take you to Florida, Arizona, anywhere within the Mayo Clinic health systems. We even have international offices. So definitely take a look at the careers page, and we would absolutely welcome your application. Thank you, Melody, for the kind comments. It is a lot of work. These ladies put in a lot of work. They do, but it's appreciated, and their voice matters and our voice matters. And as a nurse at Mayo Clinic, absolutely, you want to get involved. Aisha, I'm still in school. Do you have any programs for student nurses who are not far in the program? We do. We actually have internships for student nurses that would occur the summer following your junior year. So it is a program called the Summer 3. You're in the Myrtle Beach area. We don't have anything in the Myrtle Beach area, but if you apply to the Summer 3 nurse internship program, and there's opportunities also within Florida and Arizona for student nurses. If you apply to the Rochester program, we do offer housing at a subsidized rate, but absolutely consider it if you're interested. It's all outlined on our careers page as well. If you look for summer employment or internships, you can see more about that. Robin, are there remote positions available at Mayo Clinic? Rarely. I would say rarely. We had a lot of remote positions during the height of COVID. We are kind of turning the corner on that right now. The best part about being a Mayo employee is the team that you're surrounded by. And so we do our best work when we're side by side, locking arms. And so we rarely have remote positions. We do have hybrid positions where you would do some in person and some remote. All of that is outlined very nicely in the careers page as well, and within each job description. I'm a student nurse in an ABSN program, and I will be graduating in December. How soon can I start submitting applications? What is the procedure? You can start yesterday. The procedure again is outlined on the Mayo Clinic careers page. I would absolutely search jobs at Mayo Clinic. You'll come right to our careers page, the application process. I'm not going to say it's easy. It's involved, but it's worth it. So I would absolutely apply. There's a track for student nurses. You want to be looking for the student nurse residency application process, and an application you submit once can get you to any open available positions. Great questions.
And I just want to say, because you said you're in the Myrtle Beach area, my first summer 3 that I had with me was actually from Charleston, South Carolina. So that's the first time I actually got to go out to that side of the country. So definitely sign up for those summer 3 programs and come and see Rochester, because you come to Rochester in the best time of year if you're not wanting to deal with winters, to see what it's all about.
Winter builds character, right? You get used to it. Where is that?
Rochester, Minnesota.
Rochester, Minnesota, yes, not New York.
Yes, I think that gets confused often. So
It
we're
does.
about an hour south of Minneapolis, St. Paul, the Twin Cities area.
Do I need to submit an application for residency, or can I apply as a graduate nurse? You can apply as a new grad. You can apply even before you graduate. Any RN who's hired is automatically part of the nurse residency program. So you don't have to apply to be a nurse resident. You apply to be an RN at Mayo Clinic, and the residency is part of your first year automatically. And so when you're looking at the Mayo Clinic careers page for new graduate nurses, we typically say to apply within, 3 to 6 months from graduation, you can begin applying. And you would apply to the new grad nurse residency posting. And again, that application can get you to any available position. You'll have the opportunity to meet with a nursing placement coordinator like myself. We'll talk about opportunities. We'll talk about your preferences and your goals and your aspirations, and we'll help you find your way. Other questions? I'm trying to get the jobs.mayoclinic.org. That didn't go into the chat the way I wanted it to, but copy the link, see if we can get to the live link. Oh, that's not it either. You don't want all that. I graduated in December. Got my RN license in April. Is there a nurse residency program in Florida? Is there accommodation available as I live in Apopka? I probably messed that up. There is a residency program in Florida. From the careers page, you'll be able to find the specific information about the Florida residency. They accept applications at certain times of the year, but you're welcome to review those. You graduated in December, so you have your license. You're eligible anytime. I honestly don't know if Florida offers housing. I don't believe they do, but I don't want to tell you wrong either. So let me see if I can look it up quick.
And I heard the CNO in Florida is actually pretty good. No, I'm just kidding, because she was actually my nurse administrator when I worked inpatient medical unit. So I worked very closely with her as chairs of a couple of my division councils, or division and department. So
Yeah, she's pretty okay, isn't she, Tina?
yes, she is.
Well, I'm not finding my answer. There it is, nurse internships and externships. So the Arizona, there's one in Eau Claire, Wisconsin. The Florida application window is not currently open. Let me try this again.
Yeah, but Steph, correct me if I'm wrong, there's accommodations for summer threes, so the internship for student nurses in Rochester. But if you are applying to be an RN, I don't think that there's accommodations for places to live like as a nurse with a job.
Correct,
Yeah,
correct.
so if you're
Just for the
graduated,
internship.
yes, and nurse residency and summer threes is a different program. So summer threes is for typically nurses between their
Junior and senior year.
for a 4-year BSN program. And then the nurse residency is once you're a nurse, you're a part of Mayo Clinic, you have a job, then you're added into the nurse residency, similar to a medical residency where you're a part of a medical residency program.
Correct. Absolutely. And the residency, so we had a question about are experienced nurses allowed to apply to the nurse residency? The residency is designed for nurses within their first year, so an experienced nurse would not qualify for the nurse residency. I just looked into this for somebody else who was just really interested in being a nurse resident. Unfortunately, it is really designed for the new nurse within the first year. Question from Priscilla, I'm soon to graduate from Miami, Florida. Was wondering if Arizona offers relocation help. The answer is yes. Relocation assistance is offered by any Mayo site for people who are relocating for the purpose of employment. It is a benefit of employment. It is not a sign-on bonus. The benefits vary depending on which campus you are relocating to and the distance that you're relocating from. So that information is provided at the offer time. So it's money that is paid to you once you've started working. It's not money that you get prior to your employment. But when you get an offer from Mayo Clinic, they'll let you know what your relocation assistance will look like. It's different everywhere, so I don't even want to use any numbers because I'll get it wrong.
And the question about is there Mayo Clinics in Myrtle Beach? There is not. Myrtle Beach, that was somebody was actually went to Clemson, and between her junior and senior year, she came to Mayo Clinic Rochester to do the summer internship. That's where I was talking about in that area. But currently, there is not in Myrtle Beach. Closest would be Florida.
Any final questions? If not, thank you so much for your attendance today. Thanks for interacting with us and your great questions. Thanks to the panelists, Tina, Hannah, and Danny, for sharing your expertise. Always good to make friends for Mayo. If there's anything that, well, just hoping to obtain clarification. Do we need experience for the residency program? No, you just need to be an RN in your first year. So that's all you need is to be an RN within your first year of practice. All right. Thanks, everybody. Have a great evening. We'll sign out.